But the rough thickness is not always the finished thickness.
That is the part that matters most. A rough 4/4 board may start around 1 inch thick, but after it is flattened, planed, and sanded, the finished piece is often closer to 3/4 of an inch, or sometimes a little more depending on the board and the milling process.
So if someone needs a finished 1-inch piece, 4/4 may not be enough.
Exactly.
Welcome to Black River Woodworking. I'm Jenny. Today, Adam is going to explain lumber thickness, what 4/4 and 8/4 mean, and why rough lumber does not always measure the same after it has been milled. Adam, when someone sees 4/4 lumber, what are they actually looking at?
That's a great question. In hardwood lumber, 4/4 is spoken as 4/4, and it means the board started at about 1 inch thick in rough form. The quarter system is based on quarters of an inch. So 4/4 means 4/4, or roughly 1 inch. 5/4 means 5/4, or about 1 1/4 inches. 6/4 means about 1 1/2 inches. 8/4 means about 2 inches.
So when people see 4/4 on a lumber list, they should say 4/4, not 4x4.
Exactly. 4x4 usually means a post or timber size. 4/4 is a lumber thickness. It is a different language, and once you understand it, the lumber list starts to make a lot more sense.
And 8/4 is not 8/8.
Right. 8/4 means 8/4 of an inch, which is roughly 2 inches thick in rough lumber. You will often see 8/4 used for thicker tabletops, chair parts, legs, mantels, turning blanks, and custom pieces where the project needs more depth.
But the rough thickness is not always the finished thickness.
That is the part that matters most. A rough 4/4 board may start around 1 inch thick, but after it is flattened, planed, and sanded, the finished piece is often closer to 3/4 of an inch, or sometimes a little more depending on the board and the milling process.
So if someone needs a finished 1-inch piece, 4/4 may not be enough.
Exactly. If the final project truly needs 1 full inch after milling, you may want 5/4 or 6/4 stock instead. The rough board has to give you room to remove cup, twist, saw marks, and unevenness. You are not just buying the number on the board. You are buying enough material to reach the final size.
Can you walk through the common thicknesses?
Sure. 4/4 is the everyday hardwood thickness. It is used for cabinet parts, shelves, panels, trim, drawer fronts, small furniture, and many general woodworking projects. 5/4 gives you a little more thickness to work with. It can be useful for thicker trim, heavier shelves, small tabletops, outdoor furniture parts, or projects where 4/4 might finish too thin. 6/4 is about 1 1/2 inches rough. It is useful when you need a stronger or heavier part, but do not need the full thickness of 8/4. It can be a good choice for table aprons, thicker rails, substantial trim, furniture parts, and pieces that need extra shaping. 8/4 is roughly 2 inches rough. This is the size people often choose for table legs, bench parts, mantels, thick tops, turning blanks, and architectural work. It gives you room for joinery, shaping, and flattening.
What about 10/4 and 12/4?
10/4 and 12/4 are thicker specialty stock. 10/4 is about 2 1/2 inches rough, and 12/4 is about 3 inches rough. These sizes are used when the project needs mass, depth, or a large shaped part. Think heavy legs, posts, thick mantels, carved parts, large turning blanks, or restoration pieces that need to match old original work.
So the project decides the thickness.
That is the best way to think about it. Start with the finished part. Ask how thick the piece needs to be after milling, sanding, and fitting. Then choose rough lumber that gives you enough extra material to get there.
And that extra material is not waste. It is working room.
Exactly. Wood moves. Boards are not always perfectly flat. Rough lumber may have saw marks, slight cup, twist, or edges that need cleaning up. That extra thickness lets the shop make the board straight, flat, square, and ready for the job.
What is the difference between rough lumber and surface lumber?
Rough lumber comes from the sawmill with a rough surface. It usually needs to be jointed and planed before final use. Surfaced lumber has already been milled smoother. You may hear terms like S2S, which means surfaced two sides, or S4S, which means surfaced four sides.
So surface lumber is easier to use, but rough lumber gives more control.
Exactly. Rough lumber gives the woodworker more control over the final thickness, flatness, and layout. Surfaced lumber can save time, but it may already be thinner than the rough size suggests.
If someone is ordering lumber from Black River, what should they tell the shop?
Tell us what you are building, the finished thickness you need, the length and width of the parts, and whether the lumber needs to be rough, planed, or milled to a specific size. If you are not sure, tell us the project. We can help choose the right thickness.
So 4/4 is great for many common projects, but it is not automatically right for everything.
That is right. 4/4 is common, but 8/4, 6/4, 5/4, and thicker stock all have their place. The right choice depends on the final part, the species, the joinery, and how much material needs to be removed during milling.
That is the heart of it. Choose lumber for the finished project, not just the number on the board.
Exactly. When you understand lumber thickness, you make better choices, waste less material, and end up with stronger, cleaner, better fitting work.